everyone, welcome to the 5th episode of Dialogue at the Crossroad, and this is a space and a moment where everything just comes up naturally. So it's unscripted, we don't have anything planned ahead, and that's the beauty of everything. So I'm so happy to be here, joined by a new person from the UK that I've just met like a couple of weeks ago, and I will give him the space to introduce himself and what made him say yes when I invited him to join us here. All for you.
My name's Aidan Belazaire, originally from the UK, but I've been traveling full-time now for about a year so far. And yeah, I used to work in TV and film and marketing and advertising, but after a while I realized that I was very interested in wellness and specifically personal growth. So I realized I had a lot of things I needed to learn about myself, and through traveling I was finding that out more and more from speaking to different people. So I started to create content around it, videos online around personal growth, in an attempt to help myself, but then also help other people too. And that led me to where I'm currently at here in Vietnam, and we met over coffee, had a wonderful chat early in the morning. It was one of those kind of deep talks that just you didn't expect, but it just happened. And yeah, that's literally led me to here, and I'm really excited to talk to everybody.
And I'm so grateful to have you here today, because I know you're going to give a part of yourself in this dialogue, and that's what we are looking for. Before we started, just having a raw conversation with different people that came across and met in the middle, which is what we call crossroad. So I'm still happy to be joined by our beautiful Eva here. Can you tell us like a little bit of a takeaway or something that you know that still comes up from the previous things that we have been talking about?
Hey, sure, thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here. But yeah, I'm afraid I'm struggling a little bit with recounting, the takeaways. It's still a little bit early for me. But yeah, it's been a few days since our last episode, and let's see how it goes.
And of course, Douglas is here, and also Com is here. Douglas is here, and you are the elder of this dialogue and these episodes where we are going to just go with the flow, whatever comes up, but you're the one who's reflecting and giving your thoughts about the questions that might come up for us when it comes to self-awareness and self-acceptance, and anything that you can add to open the dialogue for today, Douglas?
Sure. Once again, I'm also very pleased that we're doing this, because I find there's a great value in talking together with people about these things that are helpful and relevant. Yeah, it does come partly from ideas that came out of books I've written that are related to the fact that I've been a psychotherapist for quite a long time, and it's nice that you call me an elder. I sometimes say I'm an old man, but the good part of that is that it's given me life experience, and I really think there's a value to sharing what that is, and I think this platform is a great way to do it. So, and the other thing that really strikes me is that we call it a dialogue at the crossroads because it's a cultural crossroads. We all come from different backgrounds and places and influences and childhoods, and yet here we are in Hoi An, Vietnam, and we're able to, in very human ways, converse and talk about what's real for us. And sometimes we discover what's different, maybe related to our background, but the value is that we're talking. We're doing it from a place of care and kindness and compassion and a deep need or want to understand each other, to say, we're human together, how does that work? So again, this for me is let's just say, a fulfilled aspiration, you know, to be able to share ideas in a setting that feels real. And so I really appreciate Kathy for being a catalyst. She's a yes. She's somebody that says yes and says, I want to take on the responsibilities to make things happen. So, yeah, there's always this mystery about what are we going to talk about today. And yes, we do have a legacy. We have now 4 previous conversations. And often we start out by sort of centering it around this idea of self-acceptance. And so even though I've said this probably every session, I think it's important to say that for me at least, represents an important marker. That when we come to the place of self-acceptance, in other words, as we are, that then becomes a platform or the catalyst that allows us the kind of freedom to live our life creatively, exploring and discovering who we are and what our life is going to be. The opposite of that, where we're caught up in self-doubt and self-judgment and an overly critical voice inside us that might be related to things we'd heard throughout our life, we limit what that potential is. And I often quote Carl Jung, who said, we like a plant which from a seed becomes an oak tree, in other words, the fulfillment of its potential, so humans become what we're meant to be, but we get stuck, okay? And I think, for me, this is a powerful notion, that we live in this state where we're less than we can be because we get stuck in ways that maybe we don't fully understand. And so part of personal growth and self-discovery and being able to listen and talk about who we are is a way of getting unstuck. It's a way of understanding and having insight into, you know, what is it that keeps us limited. And often it's beliefs we have or emotions that are the subtext to who we are: shame, guilt, fear, anger, anxiety, and they exist on a kind of a level that we don't always recognize. And so it's important for us to bring those things up and release ourselves from the ways that they've held us in place. So I know that's kind of a big introduction, but yeah, I think it's maybe lays the platform for conversation.
I just have like a first question that came up to mind after hearing the concept of self-acceptance and saying yes to life and just be living life in the okayness of who you are, authenticity per se. So what came up is that when you say that you accepted yourself in that level of okayness where you can say to whatever comes to you, does that also correlate to the trust that you have developed? And what part of your inner child needs that you have met personally? Because the journey of life seems like we have to reparent ourselves, our inner child, to achieve self-acceptance, to be self-aware of those needs and not extract it from the external world.
I think you're right. We become both our provider, our parent, to our inner child. And the idea is that when our needs are met, and we've in the past discussed what those needs are, then we're not seeking those needs being met unconsciously in the world around us. And when it relates to self-acceptance, that often looks like validation, approval, belonging, connection, okay? And of course, there's the flip side, which is the fear of rejection, disapproval, being an outsider, isolated. And so often people are leaning in the direction of what they're afraid of. That's really what insecurity is. So once we sort of cross over the line of, yeah, I'm okay, I'm a pretty human being and I'm still learning and growing and figuring it out, but I've sort of given myself enough approval to say I don't have to seek that from others, okay? I don't have to prove myself, I don't have to win approval. I've already secure in that what I think of as a foundation of who I am. And you know, I'm not waving a flag thinking, oh, I've arrived and I'm there, and you know. But I do believe that over time, and particularly in my mid-40s, I did sort of cross a line, and I realized this is my life. Nobody's gonna do for me what I need to do for myself. And that responsibility then became ultimately meeting my own needs without even exactly realizing what they were. And the more that became true, the more empowered I felt, the more confident I felt, the more clarity I had, and the more direction I could have towards what I value the most, okay? What it is that guides the life that I want. And please, I'm not promoting myself as the example. I'm just saying that there's a process and we keep going down the road, and as we get further, we discover more and more what that actually means, to accept ourselves as I am, as we are. And it also means accepting others then, accepting them where they are and the journey they are, and allowing for human naiveties and the kinds of mistakes we make when we're finding our way. So there's more room then, less judgment for
Yeah. How about you, Aiden? Like, based from our previous conversation, you were talking about how you wanted to change your life and make your passion of making contents about self-development, but also helping the digital creators to create something out from authenticity. Do you feel like you are currently crossing a line and you are transitioning to something that feels so authentic to you as an individual?
Well, first off, I resonate very much with what you say. I feel like that threshold that you pass in your mid-40s, I feel like I'm sort of there at the very end of my 30s. I'm 39 now. And it's funny because I thought I knew who I was before I was traveling, when I lived in the UK. And I thought I had this like authenticity, quote unquote, down. But it isn't until I started to explore personal growth and started to travel that I realized that I was just wrong. I was wrong about what I thought I wanted, and I was wrong about who I thought I was. And before I left, I remember there was this moment where somebody I helped found very quick success online, and I felt jealous. And jealousy is not I don't think it's something that people talk about enough, because we kind of see it as like a dirty emotion, but if I'm being very honest, I was jealous of their very fast success, and it really highlighted where my ego was most fragile. And it just sort of blew my mind a little bit, because I thought I was very comfortable with who I am. I thought I didn't really care what people thought, and I did. I really did. So yeah, in trying to help myself and help others, I think that's brought me a level of understanding that it's very hard to just arrive to and be in a place, because we're always changing and modifying, and I don't think understanding is a place that we can just get to and arrive to and then we're like namaste for the rest of our life. I think you have to understand that you're constantly going to be changing, and therefore you're constantly going to be learning more and more about yourself And also the way you think about things will change. Like how you are today is not who you're going to be and how you are in 10 years. And so now I start to look at everything, and I hope this answers the question. I think I'm going on a crazy tangent here. But now I kind of look at authenticity as kind of like a river that's ebbing and flowing, rather than like like an island in the middle of that river that you can get to and stay on. And the other thing I'm learning is that if you jump in that river, most of us try to either like swim against the flow, so we can stay in one spot even if that's quite unnatural. And instead, I kind of think it's good if you can just hold your breath, line your back, and float, and just kind of go with it. It's not always easy, and for a lot of people, including myself, it doesn't always feel natural to do that, to allow the unknown to take over and to just see where you kind of end up and where you can go naturally. But if you're okay with doing that, I think you get to a level of understanding by not trying to get to a level of understanding about yourself, by sort of just arriving there and then looking back and evaluating.